Welcome to the Gary Null Show, a program designed to enhance mental, physical, and spiritual well-being through science and the wisdom of the ages. Let us take you on a journey of empowerment. Sit back, relax, and get ready to change your life for good.
I'm Gary Null. I'd like to welcome you to a very special presentation on natural pet health. It'll be a fun journey. And the payoff at the end is that you might have a dog with you twice as long, or a cat, as you otherwise would have, without having to pay enormous vet bills. And even the question and controversy around vaccines. Should you automatically vaccine for whatever the vet says? Maybe not. We'll explore that as well. Join me now.
It's estimated this year upwards of 20 million cats and dogs will be euthanized. Now, of course, some of those are very ill and have no choice. But how many animals are euthanized simply because they were abandoned or given up and there's no one else to take them? That's unfortunate. We'd like to see that stopped. And to help us understand what you need to know to have a pet in your life is the person who on a day-to-day basis really runs the ASPCA in New York City. He is Steve Musso. Nice to have you with us, Steve.
Pleasure.
Steve, what should a person know before adopting a pet?
Well, everybody in the household needs to be committed of having a new dependent in the household. They all need to take on the responsibility and assist in the caring and the maintaining of that pet. And they all really need to understand that it's a lifetime commitment of the pet. So if you're talking about a pocket pet, several years. If you're talking about adopting a cat, maybe 15 years or upward. If it's a parrot, it's over 50 years.
Sometimes a child will say, oh, I've got to have that. They'll go see 101 Dalmatians and say, I've got to have a Dalmatian. But we have to start to match who we are as individuals with the type of pet. An older person would have a different pet possibly than a younger person. A person that's not active versus a very active person. A family might have a different type of pet than a single person. Tell us what we should know.
Well, you probably first off should take the time, go to the library, go to the bookstore, and find out about the specific animal you're interested in. If you want a dog, you may be looking for a specific breed of dog because you want one that's going to fit in your household. If you have children, for instance, young children, a pug or a Clumber Spaniel, Field Spaniel, Greyhound should be all right. Some of the retrievers, they're great pets for young kids, especially because they're sturdier, they're insensitive to being bashed around like a little kid could do. With an older person or the elderly, then you're looking at trying to place a quieter animal, a poodle, many of the toy breeds, but not necessarily the hyper terriers. Basset actually will work for both young and old. But you really want to learn about the breed first. You may decide on one breed, and then once you've gone through the education process, you'll find that another breed would be better for you.
What about cats?
Well, cats, I mean, people say, oh, they're easy to maintain. They still need to have their litter box changed. They still need to be fed. You still need to give them lots of affection, and they look for it. But no, do you take them outside and walk them? No. So there's more of your activity is done inside with the cat as opposed to a dog.
Some people don't like to spay their cats or dogs. Why should they?
Oh my God, they need to. The overpopulation problem is a big issue in the United States and beyond. 5 to 20 million animals are being euthanized each year. We need to stop putting animals back into the system. I mean, we're asking people to come to our shelters to adopt animals because they are the unwanted. People have surrendered them for a host of different reasons, some legitimate, some not. But if you add to the problem, more animals are going to be euthanized.
Now, when you get cats in here, why do people give their cats up?
Everything from their landlord is evicting them, they found out they have the cat, they're not allowed to keep the cat anymore, to allergies, we get a lot of that. This cat, Mao, I just learned, was brought in after 7 loyal years. It's like turning in a child after 7 years, because the owner had a baby, and the baby has allergies.
Oh, that must have been very difficult.
I'm sure, and I'm sure the owner was probably very upset and sad, but, you know, he's a beautiful, affectionate, wonderful 7-year-old, and adult cats make just as wonderful companions as kittens.
Okay, now, Steve, we have all these dogs. Why do people give up their dogs?
Oh, multiple of reasons. Some dogs are returned because of allergies. The biggest known reason that people return animals is because of behavior, litter training in cats, and housebreaking.
Okay, now, what are the primary breeds that end up being brought back? Most of these tend to be the larger dogs. Is that
popular breed is pit bulls. So we're seeing the pit bull and the pit bull mixes. Although they can be a great pet, if raised incorrectly, are difficult to handle. They have a very high prey drive. They're very dog aggressive, which goes back to what they originally bred for, was fighting. Actually, pit bulls are funny. You hear about all these incidences with pit bulls, but more people are bit by Cocker Spaniels, Chihuahuas, the smaller breeds, but because the bite is insignificant, or I should say minor.
Well, let me ask something, Steve. If you had a choice of having a little miniature Chihuahua bite your leg or a pit bull, which is going to be?
Oh, yes. I'm not going to argue.
One of the things I've seen is that with conventional therapy, you do get symptom relief, but you also get the chemical put in the body. And there are so many nutraceutical medicinal effects of products that don't contain chemicals. We just don't need a lot of chemicals put into bodies to make better. I think one of the pinnacles of that is we should not and do not need something like Prozac for dogs. There are rescue remedies, flower essences, homeopathic calming essences. There is melatonin, herbal extracts, ignatia, valerian root that have the same calming effect, St. John's wort. And you just don't need, I personally do not like Prozac. I've done a lot of studies on what Prozac does to people, the suicide rates of people on Prozac, and especially trying to come off Prozac. And animals that can't really communicate well to you, who knows what they're feeling when you give it to them or you miss their dose. I just don't think it's a good thing to do when there are so many other ways of getting animals better and healthy. And one of the things that has been documented by Dr. Gene Dodds is an aggressive attitude that is created by a condition called autoimmune thyroiditis. And it causes aggression, and it is caused by vaccination. And if you take these young animals that are really aggressive and you're ready to put them on Prozac or to euthanize them, you test their thyroid levels, especially their autoimmune reaction to their own thyroid. And if it comes out positive and you just treat the thyroid, they immediately become non-aggressive. So there are many other ways to get animals non-aggressive without the use of a harsh psychotic drug like Prozac.
What we're hoping to get out of this, or trying to correct, is Zoe's tendency towards chaotic behavior.
Okay. I'm going to teach her manners. I'm also going to teach her how to learn how to break some habits, because she has some habits now with you. Just having this on a dog's neck, just think of this too. Every time she moves her neck, she gets discomfort. Her skin is actually pinched, okay? Right. So that's very discomforting to a dog. So we're going to get rid of that. We're going to get rid of the regular collar too. I can't stop all the distractions. I can't say, squirrels, go away, pigeons, go away, stop running, my dog's here, stop the traffic. We can't do that, okay? But we can control our dog. I praise the dog all the time. If they do something wrong, then I discipline them. Think of this discipline. No, that lasts a second. So let's say I disciplined her 20 times in an hour. That's 20 seconds okay, out of 60 minutes. Okay, the rest of the time will actually be praised. That's not too bad. Our goal is we should be able to walk her and we shouldn't be able to correct her. If we can do that, that means she's smarter than me. And that's what I want. I want her to be smarter than me. No? Hi, babe. Who's a good baby, huh? No? Hi, if you notice, if she gets ahead of me, I give her a correction and I tell her no for making the leash tight. That's all I'm doing, okay? Because if she gets ahead of me and we're walking north and I pull back on this, she's gonna actually pull me even further. There's nothing wrong with discipline. We learn from it, as long as we understand it and it doesn't hurt us. The two factors we have to remember. Now, did you ever see people walk their dogs and they're saying heel?
Yeah.
Okay, that's terrible to do. What you're trying to do is make a soldier out of your dog.
Right.
I want your dog to enjoy the walk. I want your dog to understand the walk. Plus, I don't want you to walk every 2 steps and say, heel, heel, heel. You'll look like a goof on the street. We're not going to use strength at all. If we use strength, we're going to hurt your dog. Plus, we're going to confuse your dog. Because if I use strength and pull back, your dog's going to want to go forward. One finger you could use. There's no strength involved at all. If you use strength, you're going to lose. No strength at all. And when I do it, I just say no. Okay? Sometimes when she's doing good, I talk nice to her and I say, hi, baby, how you doing? So she doesn't hear the chain. Okay, she has 6 feet of leash. See how close she is to me? She's feeling more confident with me. If your dog does something wrong, I'm going to go like that and tell your dog no. Okay? When your dog's doing good, I'm going to praise your dog and say, hey, good girl, good girl, good girl. I'm not going to use their name at all. The only time you should use their name is when you talk nice to them and you praise them. Unless you have more than one dog, because then if you say come, they'll all come to you, and you might want to be specific. You're reading a lot of books where you have to be the alpha, the leader, you have to show your dog you're more dominant, you're in control. No, we don't want that. We want a team, a partnership.
Millions of Americans own fish. Unfortunately, a lot of those same fish owners end up giving it up. Why? But to show you what you can do so your fish can live long lives, I've invited Seth Kolker. Seth is one of the directors of the Brooklyn Aquarium Society that represents people who are interested in fish. Nice to have you with us, Seth.
Nice to be here, Gary.
In case someone's not all that experienced, may not know everything about setting up the tank right and have the best filtration system, which are the more delicate fish that are more likely to have problems, and which are the ones that can survive?
The ones like the cichlids are very hardy. You're dealing with angelfish, maybe some Oscars and other fish like that. But make sure your tank is big enough to accommodate these fish. One of the stress factors that people encounter is they buy these small fish and they don't ask the storekeeper, how big does that fish grow? And they're putting these small fish in the tank, and at first they all get along great, but eventually they get big and they eat up the other fish.
How much room does a fish need?
They need about, they say 1 inch of fish for every gallon of water. But that's a very, very general. With saltwater fish, it's even less than that.
When purchasing your specimens, it's important to have a small checklist of things to look out for. Make sure that there are no fungal infections around the mouth, no erosion. Make sure the eyes are crystal clear and not bulging. The scales are in good condition and are flat against the body. Make sure that the fins are nice and full and not clamped against the body. And no signs of just general disease. No spots, ulcers, hemorrhaging, or mucus slime around the body. The fish feces should always be in good condition, not stringy. And the belly should never be bloated, slightly convex or flat. As far as the gills are concerned, it's important to make sure that they're not red and that the fish is breathing at a normal respiratory rate. No worms or mucus around the gills, also important to check for.
Nancy Chambers, owner of Urban Bird here in New York City. What should people know before buying a bird?
The kind of bird that you're going to want to buy is going to be dependent on you. The smallest child can handle the largest macaw if it is raised properly. So you're going to find that you walk into the very, very reputable bird store or other really good pet shop that sells birds, and you're going to find that some little bird or some large bird comes over to you, runs up your arm and kisses you on the cheek. That's going to be the bird that you want. I very often tell people that the bird picks the person. Very much like with kittens and puppies. You are going to be attracted to a bird or a type of bird and do a little bit of research, find out what kind you think you like, and that bird's going to find you.
How long do birds live?
Parrot species birds, in particular, can have a human lifespan. Now I'm going to say that the smaller parrots in the Cockatail, lovebird, budgie variety will live 10 to 15 years, maybe 20. But the bigger, medium to bigger sized birds are going to live anywhere from 20 to 100 years. So it's a lifetime commitment. It is a long-term commitment. I tell people that it's not a good idea to think of some kind of bird as a starter bird. You really want to do a little bit of research because you're going to have a friend for the rest of your life, most likely.
I don't think people appreciate, Nancy, how much love a bird can give and how much love they want.
Yeah, it's really unusual because people think, most people in the street that have had a dog or a cat think of birds, or parrots especially, as like a fish. You put it in the cage, you put it in the tank. You look at it, you feed it, you clean it, and that's it. This is totally untrue. These birds are totally social. They want to be with you, and they look at you as either their mom and dad, their brother and sister, or their boyfriend and girlfriend. So they establish human relationships with people, including establishing different relationships with different people in the house. Very interesting.
Over the years, I found a tremendous correlation between owners, how they look, and their pets, how they look, and also in reference to disease. It is not really airy-fairy stuff or hocus pocus. There is an energy field that surrounds each body. If we were to photograph with using an infrared camera, it's called Kirlian photography, a human patient or a human being and an animal, we would see two overlapping energy fields. Within these energy fields, there is a correspondence or a transfer of energy. If you were to hold your hand around a piece of cold metal without touching it, you would heat that metal. That is energy that's being emitted from your body. Studies have been made showing that the energy fields are more bright and brilliant in people that are happy and darker and dimmer in people that are depressed. Inside the disease state, there is a lot of emotional depression, low tone feelings. And I feel that this definitely has an additive effect and is part of the disease complex. And the quote-unquote coincidence that I've seen over the years between problems that pet owners have associated with their pets is just astoundingly beyond coincidence. So we do a lot of work with our clients in trying to get them into a positive mode. We show them a lot of before and after pictures of the successful cases. Especially when you're dealing with cancer, there's a lot of gloom and hopelessness. And it's amazing how many times we will see an animal for the first time with terminal cancer, and all we'll do is take blood samples and show the owners before and after pictures. They walk into our facility very, very depressed, and they walk out very happy, and they call 2 days later to get the blood results and to start the program, and invariably, so many times, the animals are already better, and all we did was change a viewpoint around. It's really, really important.
One of the things I advocate, and I certainly suggest people consider, is quality bonding time every day with your pet. I have some miniature long-haired Dachshunds, and when my first one was born, and after she was weaned, I made a little pocket right here at my heart chakra, and I'd keep her in here so that she had the heart energy. And every time she'd look up and I'd look down, I'd nuzzle her nose and give her hugs and kisses.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
And every day, no matter what I'm doing, I spend time bonding with her. Now, in turn, she's always relaxed, she doesn't get hyper, she hasn't been sick.
You know, there's a protocol out there called Tellington Touch, which is what you're aptly describing, about touching the animals and rubbing their ears, etc., and even going down their back and taking the tail and going out the tail, taking the energy out of the dog, around, from the tail and out into the ethers, if you will. But yes, there's no question that this daily massage and daily touching, and I might add, most people will buy a bird. We'll get back to birds for just a second here. Most people will buy a bird because, you know, they're lovely and they make a lot of wonderful sounds and, you know, good conversation piece, but they don't pay any attention to the birds. Of all of the pets, the birds need the most attention. And when they don't get the attention, what do we end up with? Feather plucking many times. And you see a bird that looks like he's naked because he's emotionally stressed out, and one of the things that's bothering him is the fact he doesn't get any attention. So those of you who raise birds or have birds as pets, make sure you spend plenty of time with them, talking to them and holding them and touching them. It's very, very important. And don't human beings respond to touch too?
Sure.
I think that's so wonderful. You're talking about your heart chakra and how that little fellow or girl, or whatever it was, responded. Because I see that animals, for instance, who are into seizures, animals that have epileptic seizures, the first thing I tell the people to do is wrap them up in a towel and talk to them and pet them and comfort them and give them your energy.
Animals also are just as susceptible as humans to stress.
Yes, you know, I find stress an important part of my practice, the way I practice veterinary medicine. When you're stressed, you're sick, and when you're sick, you're stressed. We just don't get away from it all, particularly in today's pressure cooker society that we live in. So when these animals come in, they not only have the diseases that they're afflicted with, but they have tremendous stresses involved. And a lot of the stresses they have are from the household itself. And you'll have a family that's always squabbling, or you'll have kids that just don't know how to handle the animals. They're always threatening them or doing something that they shouldn't be doing. You have arguments going on. You have all of the things in the American family today that are stressful and creating problems for the humans, and it rubs right off on the animals. You can see it all the time. Oh. I address stress because I use a lot of Bach flowers. Have you ever heard of Bach flowers, Gary?
Sure.
Well, I use Bach flowers. Every animal that comes into my practice, I assume he's stressed. Because I'm stressed, why shouldn't he be stressed? And I'm at least taking care of myself by using the proper foods every day.
Explain what a Bach flower remedy is and how people can use it.
Sure. Well, there was a Dr. Edwin C. Bach who passed away around 1936. He was an English homeopathic physician. And in the latter years of his life, he got into botanicals. And he developed 38 different essences, if you will, extracts from flowers, which had effects on the human psyche relative to relieving the stresses of daily life, the pressures, what the pressures created. Now, these are not Valiums. These are not Prozacs. These are not those horrible things that are used today, these antidepressants. These were natural things. You can't OD on a flower petal, I always tell everybody. And these various Bach flowers, just like 3 drops 3 times a day, either on their ear or in their mouth, will settle them down from the standpoint a loss of a loved one such as a long-time illness as the result of some surgery that they had, an animal that is always fearful of thunder and lightning, for instance. Bach flowers are wonderful. Animals that scratch all the time. There's a Bach flower called agrimony, or maybe it's agrimony. I've never known how to pronounce it. But that does a great job on animals that have that creepy crawly feeling under the skin and makes them itch. So it's great for allergies. It's not the answer, but you have to help these animals as they're being treated. You want to know that if you address the stress, whatever else you're doing in the way of medical treatment, whether it be allopathic or holistic or whatever, whatever you're doing is going to work better when the stress level is been reduced. And I just see people telling me all the time, I just can't believe how these animals are responding compared to what they used to. I haven't necessarily cured them, of course, with Bach flowers, but I've put them on a road of quality life at that time.
One of the things I advocate, and I certainly suggest people consider, it's my belief that we should not be having just one pet. I've seen the difference when you have one cockatoo or one parakeet or one macaw or one dog or cat. The time you have to spend with them is tremendous, and when you're not there, they go through anxiety, separation anxiety. Having more than one allows them to bond and play and enjoy each other's company. What are your feelings on this?
Oh, I tell you, I've said this for many, many years, and I always tell people, have more than one. Visualize yourself. Put yourself in the pet's position. Pets are man's best friend. They're very social. They're very gregarious. And to be by yourself hour after hour, and you can't even turn on the TV set. So all you can do is just sit there, and then if you get an itch, you start nibbling, and then the nibbling becomes worse, and then you've got a sore, etc. So you end up with these animals with skin problems because they're by themselves, and there's nothing better to do than let's chew them myself. And animals that have nervous stomachs. I get to be simplistic, but nevertheless, animals with bowel diseases because they're upset, they're nervous, and they're in a state of stress.
It's not possible in the limitations of just this program to give you everything you need to know about how to care for and feed and maintain or purchase a pet. But I know we've hit upon the most important points. There are a lot of good resources, a lot of good books, and I know that you'll start to study those as well. I'm Gary Knoll. Thank you very much for watching.